Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle something that gives a lot of people major anxiety, the IELTS speaking test. If the very thought of it has your heart racing, you're in the right place. We're about to break it all down and turn that fear into a solid, confident plan.
11 to 14 minutes. You know, on paper, that sounds like nothing, right? But when you're the one sitting there, waiting for your name to be called, oh man, that time just stretches and the pressure really starts to crank up.
Then you're in that room. It's quiet, and you're sitting right across from an examiner. Now, they're trained to be friendly, of course, but you know that they are there to assess every single word that comes out of your mouth.
And that's when your brain just kicks into overdrive, right? What are they going to ask? Do I even have the vocabulary for this? Oh my gosh, what if I just freeze up? It's a totally normal feeling, believe me.
But here's the thing. What if you could walk into that room actually feeling prepared, even confident? What if you knew exactly what the examiner was listening for and how to give it to them? Well, guess what? You absolutely can. So let's dive in and figure out how you're going to master this test.
Okay, first things first. To beat the test, you gotta know the test. Understanding the structure is your first step to feeling in control, because this isn't just some random chat. It's a very predictable 3-part interview.
So here's the roadmap. Part 1 is basically a warm-up. They'll ask you about really familiar stuff, your job, your hometown, your hobbies. Easy. Then, in Part 2, things get a little more serious. You get a topic on a card, and you have 1 minute to prep a little speech. And finally, Part 3 builds on that Part 2 topic, but it becomes more of a deep, two-way conversation. See? Each part has its own purpose.
So, the big question, how are they actually scoring you? You might think it's some kind of big secret, but it's really not. The examiners use a public standardized scorecard, so let's pull back the curtain and see exactly what's on it. And this is it. This is the whole game. Your score is split perfectly, 25% each across these 4 areas. And that's huge. It means you can't just have an amazing vocabulary and mumble your way through. You have to be pretty solid on all 4 fronts. Let's break them down. First up, fluency and coherence. Just think of this as your flow. Are you speaking smoothly, at a pretty normal pace? Or are you stopping and starting with lots of awkward, long pauses? And just as important, do your ideas link together? Using simple little words like because, also, and so is a super easy way to make sure the examiner can follow along.
Next up is lexical resource. This is basically your word power. How big is your vocabulary? Can you use some less common words without making mistakes? A big part of this is also paraphrasing. Can you explain something in a different way if you can't think of the perfect word? That shows a ton of flexibility.
Then we've got grammatical range and accuracy. The key word here is range. Are you only using short, choppy, simple sentences, or can you also construct some more complex ones? A mix is what you're aiming for. But, and this is a big but, accuracy is way more important. A simple sentence that's perfect is always better than a complex one that's full of mistakes.
And finally, pronunciation. Okay, let's be super crystal clear on this one. This is not about getting rid of your accent. Your accent is part of who you are. This is all about clarity. Can the examiner understand what you're saying without having to lean in and strain? It's about things like word stress and intonation, kind of like the music of how you speak.
And please remember this. The person sitting across from you is not there to judge you or your opinions or your life story. They're a highly trained professional who is laser-focused on those 4 criteria, and that's it. Their job is to be totally impartial and just give you the score you deserve.
All right, so now you know the rules of the game. But how do you actually get better at playing it? Let's get into some real, actionable things you can start doing, like today, to level up your score.
So for that lexical resource score, it's all about variety. Get in the habit of rephrasing things. Don't just repeat the words in the question back to the examiner, find another way to say it. And yeah, try to use some cool idioms or less common words, but only, and I mean only if you know you're using them correctly and naturally.
Here's a perfect example. Instead of saying something basic like, carbon emissions make climate change worse, you could totally show off by saying, the problem of climate change is exacerbated by carbon emissions. See how much more sophisticated that sounds? Using a power word like that correctly will definitely get you noticed.
Now, for fluency, the name of the game is expansion. Rule number 1, never ever give a one-word or one-sentence answer. Always give more. And try to cut down on those filler words like and ah. It's tough, I know, but it makes you sound so much more confident. And of course, keep using those linking words to connect your thoughts.
And for pronunciation, this is where it gets fun. Just immerse yourself. Binge watch English TV shows.
Listen to podcasts on your commute, sing along, loudly, to your favorite English songs. That's an awesome way to practice rhythm. And here's a pro tip. Record yourself on your phone. It might feel weird, but it's the best way to hear what you actually sound like.
Okay, knowing what to do is half the battle, but the other half is knowing what not to do. So many people fall into the same simple traps that can really pull their scores down. Let's make sure you're not one of them.
And here it is. Maybe the most common trap of all, parroting the question. If the examiner asks, "What kind of music do you like?" the last thing you want to do is say, "The kind of music I like is..." Nope. Rephrase it. "I'm a huge fan of pop music," or, "Well, I mostly listen to pop." It's such a simple switch, but it immediately shows off your language skills. And here are a few more quick ones to watch out for. As we said, never just say yes or no. Always explain why. Also, don't try to use answers you memorized from the internet. Trust me, the examiners can spot them a mile away, and it just sounds robotic. Speak up. Don't mumble. And finally, make sure you're actually answering the question they asked, not the one you wish they asked.
So at the end of the day, the IELTS speaking test isn't some big, scary monster. It's really just a game that has very clear and very predictable rules. And now, you know the format, you know the scorecard, and you have the strategies. All that fear of the unknown, it's gone. You've got the playbook. So the only question is, are you ready to play?